Yep. I guess he turned out to be a lot more ambitious than we gave him credit for. Well, he'd have to be a master wait, no. I wouldn't be so sure. There was no great outcry when I arrested Putin. That's exactly what I'm worried about. That's devious. So you're saying we're not going to be invading any other countries anytime soon? She's always so busy. I don't want to bother her. I can't believe he won't let us extend his life with the crystal. You know there's no alcohol in Orange Julius, right? Penguin Truth here, and it's time for more Otaku Evolution. Be sure to like, subscribe, and contribute to my Patreon. So I found a way to talk about Space Battleship Yamato again, this time by discussing the 2012 remake of the original, called Space Battleship Yamato 2199. Or Star Blazers 2199 if you're more comfortable with it. Funimation clearly was. The original Space Battleship Yamato is a classic above most classics. A true jewel of anime and one of my favorites. But the problem is, outside of Star Blazers, there's no English dubbed version, so it doesn't meet the standards for review here. The remake, on the other hand, is well balanced, sharply written, and engaging enough to take on, and was dubbed by Funimation, thus making it ripe for the picking. It's exciting to actually get to use the remake as a springboard to talk about the original, but the remake is plenty good all on its own. But did Yamato really need a remake? And does the remake measure up to the original? Well, the answer is complicated. Space Battleship Yamato is largely about the voyage of the Yamato, a spaceship converted from the old wreckage of the World War II fighting vessel of the same name to the far-off planet of Iscandar. The mission the crew is on is to retrieve a device that will scrub the radiation killing the Earth dispensed by the Gamilan alien race via meteor bombs. They have about a year to make the round trip before Earth becomes completely uninhabitable and all the people die. All the while on the way, they fight Gamilan forces who are keen on preventing the Yamato from succeeding in its objective. With just a few differences in the execution, the premise is nearly identical between the original and remake. I mean, you would expect it to, since it is a remake. One difference is that in Yamato 2199, the aliens aren't trying to terraform Earth for colonization, as is speculated in the first episode. You probably wouldn't want to colonize a dead world anyway. all that radiation tends to get in the way of, everything. I don't want to spoil everything, so I won't give away the real reason, but let's just say that the Gamilans are kind of overreacting. Space Battleship Yamato has a cadre of unique characters, with the original and remake giving different weight to the characterizations. For instance, you have the lead, Susumu Kodai, combat chief on the ship, who deftly handles the duties on the bridge and in a fighter jet. In the original series, he's a bit more hot-blooded, getting into fights with the crew, attempting to kill a prisoner. He's a bit more mature in the remake, but because of this, there's less actual development. But you still root for him because of the sadness he carries about the death of his brother.
After all, I lost my family to the Gamilans too. But our side isn't blameless. My brother died never knowing he was a decoy.
I'm sorry.
Don't frown on my account. I think I finally made peace with it all. I'm just putting my trust in the captain.
You have Yuki Mori, the female lead, who starts out a little cold and aloof, but thaws over time, becoming much more caring about her fellow crewmates, and especially fond of Kodai. She was in an accident years earlier, which left her without her memories, and has been starting over ever since, having been taken under the wing of a military admiral on Earth. In the original series, she was basically the only female character, a waifish domestic sort, but still fairly competent at her job. There really wasn't a whole lot to her in the first season except her feminine charm. She really didn't have an arc, so I guess her characterization in the remake was an improvement.
Your people are nothing but parasites. How dare you call yourself a Gamilan? Fine then. Take this!
Stop! He will complete his mission. That is an Iskandarian order.
Daisuke Shima is the main pilot and navigator of the ship, steering the Yamato on its wondrous voyage to Iscandar. He's a lot more together and well-balanced a person than Kodai, but has a problem coming to terms with the truth behind the first contact between the Earth and the Gamilans. During the mutiny storyline, he becomes the official face of the coup, but things aren't exactly as they appear. In this version, he lacks his rivalry with Kodai, but I feel like they're not as close of friends as they were in the original.
What?
Guidance beacon set. Stand by.
Hey, what are you doing?
Ito, the landing party is back.
Yeah, I noticed. That doesn't mean we have to let them on board.
Are you suggesting we leave them here?
We talked about this, Shima. Close the hangar.
No more victims!
Now, Shima!
I'm in command here. Remember?
Our survival's on the line, so I'm afraid I'm going to have to insist.
I refuse.
Admiral Okita is the captain of the Yamato, and one of the great captains of science fiction. A father to his men, Okita is weathered and wise, always making well-measured decisions and unafraid to pass along his wisdom or admonishments, but always with a steady hand. He suffers from radiation sickness, so he realizes the mission on the Yamato will probably be his final adventure, and falls ill a few times during the trip, but always gets back up again, vowing not to die until he can see the Earth again.
Let me speak to your captain.
You're speaking to the captain right now, Juzo Okita.
Greetings. I'm commander of the Milky Way Galactic Theater, Elk Domal. I've been looking forward to this moment.
Glad to hear it, because I feel the same way.
Captain Okita, allow me to express my admiration for your exemplary command.
Commander Domal, this battle is over. I'd like to avoid more bloodshed if we can. Let us pass and we will not fire on your ship.
There's the Exo Shiro Sanada, the chief science officer of the Yamato, who was friends with Kodai's brother. There's Akira Yamamoto, a gender-flipped version of an original series character who has inherited the original Kodai's hostility towards the enemy. There's Shinya Ito, chief security officer who helps instigate a rebellion. There's the robot, Analyzer, who was more of a character in the original series, even having his own noteworthy monologue in an episode, who nonetheless gets an episode of the remake and then is largely ignored for the rest of the time. There's also several Gamilan characters that get more development in the remake, so there's a trade-off there. The crew of the Yamato are varied, much more diverse and critical in the remake in general.
A long time ago, back when I was still in flight school, I saw one of our planes passing over, and it was a spectacular sight. Hard to put into words, really. Just something about the way it cut across the sky, noble and strong. And when I saw it, I thought, that's the most beautiful thing in the world.
You've also just got to love the ship, the Yamato. It's equipped with shot cannon turrets, armor-piercing fusion shells, torpedo tubes galore, a missile launcher on the bottom, anti-air lasers, and of course, the wave motion gun. The ship's flying is versatile and fast. Besides moving interplanetary distance in mere hours, it can also enter and exit planetary atmospheres with ease, serve as a regular floating vessel, and of course also has warp capabilities. It has a medical section, map room, radio station, cantina, and its iconic main bridge. The ship is practically a character on its own in this show.
Disable the gravity anchor! All crew, brace yourselves for impact!
I really ought to buy a model or representation of the Yamato for my room one of these days. It's a legendary science fiction spaceship, practically up there with the Enterprise. As good as the remake is, however, I feel like there's something missing. Or rather, as I stated before, there are some definite trade-offs. Take the example of my favorite episode of the original series versus a similar episode of 2199. In the episode, the crew are allowed a few minutes to contact their loved ones at home before they're completely out of Earth's communication range. The whole crew has a party to celebrate this, but Kodai sulks. Shima talks to his parents and younger brother. Tokugawa fawns over his granddaughter. Mori's parents are desperate to marry her off. Dr. Sato comically communicates with his cat. But Kodai continues to mope about. The captain likewise wanders the ship, somewhat out of sorts. When Mori insists Kodai go to the communications room and talk to his family, she's shocked to realize that nobody's there for Kodai to talk to. His family is all dead. Finally, Kodai makes his way to a waiting Okita, and the two share a drink in his quarters, as neither of them have any family left, and bond in their grief and hope to return to Earth after the mission is complete. It is a somber but optimistic ending. In the 2199 version of the episode, things unfold differently. Tokugawa still talks to his granddaughter, Shima gets to talk to his brother, they have Nambu be the one whose parents want to get engaged, Yuki talks to Admiral Hijikata, who took care of her after her accident, but in the end it's Tokugawa who visits and reminisces with Okita. Kodai and Mori bond separately on the observation deck.
Why didn't you make a call to Earth?
My family's dead. It's okay, it's just the way it is. Did you talk to yours?
I'm like you, an orphan.
Oh, sorry.
Now, this is what I mean by a trade-off. The original gives us a strong bonding moment between Susumu Kodai and the captain, helping to establish a strong father-son dynamic that continues throughout the show. In the remake, they take the opportunity to give us more of Kodai and Mori, to deepen their relationship and give us a more believable romance later on. But there were other opportunities to do this. They probably could fit both things in, have Kodai bond with Okita, and then go to the observation deck where he sees Mori. The scene with Okita and Tokugawa doesn't do much in the long run. My point is, the remake, while arguably better fleshed out and well balanced than the original, nevertheless lacks some of the heart and soul of the original.
Do you hear me? We'll be back!
This is why the question of the significance or justification for a remake is such a difficult one. The original series is one of my favorites, so shouldn't the remake also be, if it's better in some ways? Well, it is and it isn't. The thing about the original is, it was a bit of a miracle. The initial concept was conceived by Yoshinobu Nishizaki, but was largely shaped by the legendary Leiji Matsumoto, the Bill Finger to Nishizaki's Bob Kane. The franchise has been buoyed by talents like Toshiya Masuda, Eiichi Yamamoto, and Kazuo Kasahara. Actors like Kei Tomiyama, Goro Naya, Ichiro Nagai, and Toru Furuya. Despite not being popular initially, it eventually broke through big and is still considered a bankable and beloved classic. I was champing at the bit to find an excuse to talk about it more in my videos. The remake? The remake is very good. It's a great show that science fiction anime fans cannot go without watching. Like the original, it displays the importance of determination, valor, and sacrifice. It examines the meaning of humanity and the importance of proper leadership. And unlike the original, it gets more into the caste system of the Gamilans and the pitfalls of discrimination. It also has a more diverse cast and generally better written episodes. By most measures, it should be considered superior to the original. But I don't know, it just isn't as groundbreaking, seminal, or heartfelt as the original in some ways. I still recommend it though, it's well worth a watch. And there's more of it besides the first season, including new material currently coming out. I'd still like Blu-rays of the original and its movies. Somebody get on that. Next time on Otaku Evolution, well, I haven't decided yet, but I'll be sure to get on it soon. Until then, see ya! It's been a while. Pingu, why don't you just let us continue extending your life with the penguin crystal? None of the other living council penguins have objected. And since you're our first chair penguin, well... Dude, I'm older than you. Well, no. I came to talk about the current chair penguin. Not particularly. If you're talking about romantic love, only unrequited. You sound like the current council, talking about my legacy. Making anime review videos on the internet. Maybe I should come back when you're dead. Your advice would be more useful then. If I must.